even though the domestic data is coming out, say, slightly mixed, and I would say actually slightly mixed to slightly negative, what we've got going on here is I think the biggest question that the traders will be asking themselves behind me is after 6 years of 0% interest rates, emergency level 0% interest rates, we can't really buy any inflation or pull any inflation forward. So the whole world is trying to, say, devalue their currencies and import inflation and export deflation, and it's just not working. It's kind of like a hot potato that we're all passing around the country or the globe trying to cut our interest rates and import that inflation. We really need to find another planet that we can import inflation from and export deflation. So that's the real problem. We can't find any growth. We've got a placeholder called quantitative easing, and even though the U.S. economy is moving along at a slow growth rate, it's still not that great at all. And the sad part is that looks better to the rest of the world, and that's what is embarrassing. We don't really, we grow at 3.3% on average, and we're in between 2 and 2.25. That's not good enough, having expanded our balance sheet by $4 trillion. It's just not working. China's trying to do it. Japan's trying to do it. Europe's trying to do it. We've all failed.
Well, and Scott, to add to that, of course, the US has already done it, and it's now coming out the other side, or we think it's due to come out the other side pretty soon. So with that in mind, would you be buying US equities?
I don't think so. I tell you, I think when you go back and look at it, history will tell us that 2.17 in the 10-year yield is going to probably be the best deal on the board right now. And I'm not saying you need to hold it for 10 years and get 2.17%. But I think the appreciation of your capital in the bond market as it rallies will give you a better return than it would be if you want to hold on to those equities. Because I think, last I checked, I've been doing it for 28 years, we used to raise rates to cool off an overheating economy. Can you actually tell me that the U.S. is overheating? I don't think so. I'd like to see rates go up just to get off of zero. I understand that. But I don't think the Fed should raise them just to raise them. So we've got a little bit of a quandary here, and I think that we're going to be in some dicey waters, and I think that's why the 10-year is probably a better buy in the short term than equities.
And Scott, let's talk a bit more about that. So what about the timing? When would you be wanting to go long U.S. bonds again? Is it now? Is it as we get a little closer to a rate hike? And where on the curve is most attractive?
Well, I think what you've just seen China do, trying to, say, devalue their currency against all other currencies, they're going to start a little bit of a currency war, I think, in Asia, and that's going to spill towards us. So I think now is the time to buy the 10-year, number one. And number two is that going forward, I don't think we're going to see a hike in September. I don't think we're going to see a hike in December. And I'm going to say one thing that's kind of inflammatory. There's a risk because of what's happening around the world with China, Greece, the ECB, and Japan. We might see quantitative easing here again in the States next year.